It was a warm 31 degrees this morning when I woke up, and I didn't get up early. But we're planting my garden today. I'm going to show you how I prepare and plant my garden in 18 inches by 36 inches, and I can get my entire 40-foot by 20-foot greenhouse filled in just this small space. I'm David Gilmore, known as LDS Prepper, and to watch over 600 videos that can help you get prepared for what's coming, go to ldsprepper.com. I did a recent video regarding whether it's better to plant directly into the garden or start the seeds in seedling trays or flats. This year, I'm just itching to get gardening, and I'm done with winter mentally. So let's get started in the garden. I want to do it here indoors. A couple years ago, I had the same setup with the lights, the seedling flats, the heat mat, and plastic covering this in the greenhouse. While my sister, who lives down the street from me, had the same setup without the plastic over it to help keep the temperature constant in the greenhouse. She had the same setup in her spare bedroom. The plants grew much faster. They looked healthy, and so I have the space here in my office. I enjoy watching plants grow, and so I'm doing it here in my office this year instead of in the greenhouse. I have many videos showing seedling production in my greenhouse, in my bathroom, and when we lived in Texas, using heat mats, lights, and so forth. I will link those videos down below to show you the many different options that you can use in starting your garden. Now I need to get soil mixed and prepared properly for the seedlings. Here I'll be planting 66 seeds in just the bare soil. I have pots over here. I'll explain that here in a minute why I have pots in the seedling flat. And over here I have pots in a water tray, so when I water them, it doesn't go over my chairs and so forth. Over here I have catch trays catch the water. I'm going to need the equivalent of 3 seedling flats of soil. We've got some potting mix that my wife picked up quite a while ago. We've been storing it. But I don't have enough for 3 seedling flats, so I'm going to mix it with the sand and sawdust I typically use in my garden and add some perlite to it. As you can see, this is a really nice light soil mix here, and it has perlite in it. So this is a great mix by itself. But instead of running down to the store and buying a bag of planting mix, which would be perfectly fine, I'm just going to use what I have here on my site, which is what I typically use to grow all my seedlings. The reason why I want to use a seedling flat to measure out how much material I need is because, according to the Midlighted gardening method, which I exclusively follow because of the amazing results I get, it tells me that I need 1.5 ounces of pre-plant mix per container. So if I have 3 containers, then I know exactly how much pre-plant mix to add to the medium. I have the same amount of my sand and sawdust mixed here as I do with the seedling mix. And now I'm going to add perlite. My favorite mix for the sand and sawdust and perlite is 4 parts sawdust, 2 parts sand, and 1 part perlite. If I were just using the potting mix, it already has perlite in it, I wouldn't add it. But since I don't use perlite in my sand and sawdust mix in my garden, I'm adding perlite here to make the soil lighter and to improve water retention. Here I've weighed out 4.5 ounces of pre-plant mix. This is full of calcium, which will help the plant's root growth. I will start fertilizing these seeds once they become seedlings. I don't want to put a lot of salts, which are minerals, into the soil for the seedlings. It would hamper the seedling germination. I have mixed the 2 soils together with the pre-plant mix and the perlite. It usually takes me about 4 times walking around the wheelbarrow to get it mixed. I think I got a pretty good light mix. Now it's time to fill the seedling flats and the pots. I filled the first flat with the soil mix, tamped it down, and now I'm just going to add some water. This must be a high quality seedling mix or soil mix. You don't want to use planting soil. You want to use a mix which is lighter. And this, by the way that it's sloughing off the water, it must have peat moss in it. So it's taking me a little bit longer to water, but this does indicate that we've got a good quality bagged soil here. I don't experience the water sloughing off when I'm just using sand and sawdust, but the peat moss has to be wet in order for it to start absorbing water. Following the same procedure, I fill up the flat with the seedling pots, and I'll do the same for the next one. Because the peat moss has to be wet in order to continue to get wetter, it's kind of a weird thing. There's a special word for it. I'm sure someone will comment down below what it's called. I decided to go ahead and add water to the soil mix in the wheelbarrow. Turned out to be much better. I only used half as much water as I did per seedling box as I did in the first one. I have to say, dealing with the pots is a much more labor-intensive process than just putting soil in the seedling flat. But I'm going to show you why I'm using pots in addition to the seedling flat. Now, when you pick up the seedling flat, it's very important to remember to pick up the thick side, not the thin side, not the thin wood, but the thick side, and that will give you the support you need to carry this weight. So if you are going to use seedling flats and pots together, the seedling flats make it really convenient to move the pots. You don't have to worry about plastic containers breaking and everything falling out and spilling. You have a nice sturdy container to move the pots. To learn how to make the seedling flats, I'll link a video down below, and you can also check out the detailed step-by-step instructions in the Mittler Gardening Course book at ldsprepperstore.com. Because I'm planting a backyard garden versus a commercial garden, I would be planting several different varieties of several different plants in a seedling flat if I would just put everything in a seedling flat. And to me it gets confusing. The little labels move. I forget which variety is next to which variety. So that's the reason why I'm using pots today. And then I'm using one seedling flat to plant the 30 peas and the 33 corn. Now here's the list of all that I'm planting and how many seeds I'm planting. And what I've done in here is I've added 10% to the actual number of seeds that I want to plant. So here I need less than 30, but I added 10% to that in order to account for seeds that don't germinate or weak plants. So I'm going to go ahead and get the peas and the corns planted first. I've got the seeds planted. I just pushed them down in the soil and then smoothed the soil over the top of them and made sure that the seeds had good contact to the soil. And then I added my label. When I transplant these into the garden, I'll take this label and staple it to the 2x8 that my box is made out of so I don't lose the label. Corn seedlings take up quite a bit of room. So what I've done here, I planted one seed in each corner across this row here. That'll be the ambrosia. And then the honey and pearl will be the same in this row here. The honey pearl seeds are 10 years old. We'll see how that affects germination, whereas the ambrosia are only a year old. That little speck in the middle of my hand is a cauliflower seed, but the same size as the broccoli seed. So those barely just go in the soil, 2.5 times its thickness, which is barely anything. So just very lightly in the soil and just put some soil on top of it. Otherwise, this seed will not be able to break through the soil if it's too deep. These sun sugar tomato seeds are very, very small. So I just moistened a tip of a pencil and I'm just putting it down inside the soil. Very shallow. All right, I've got everything planted except for the Campari, which I'm waiting for the seeds to come in. They should have been here already. Just waiting for the Postal Service to deliver. I'm going to go ahead and give everything a light watering to make sure we get good soil contact and moisture in the soil for the seeds to germinate. There we go, just enough to get the soil moist and settle the seeds down. Moisture and warm temperatures are what trigger seed germination. So I have covered this with saran wrap to help keep the moisture in. I now have the heat mat turned on and set to 80. So obviously you can see it's a little bit cooler because of the soil, which I anticipate. And I've got the temperature probe here in about the center of the box so that we get a proper reading. And now I'm just going to let them warm up, let the soil warm up, keep the humidity in there. I've got the light installed, but I won't need the light because Seeds don't need light to germinate. Only seedlings need light. So I'll leave the light off. And I've got my garden planted for the year. That's pretty exciting. Make sure to check out the links below this video on other videos I've made on how to grow food as if your life depends on it. Starting with seedling germination, transplanting, everything A to Z to growing food in your backyard. This is David Gilmore, known as LDS Prepper, reminding you, if you are prepared with proper seedling production, you shall not fear.